Thank you. Boy, it was a tough road getting here this morning. So I did not have the fortunateness of hearing a keynote speaker, but I had, when his book first came out, I had the opportunity of attending his signing and his promotion of his book a couple years ago. So I just got a little bit of his information. One of the things that many of us have to do is look around daily. We look around to see what our surroundings consist of. Well, everywhere we go here in Utah, we will see how much it has changed. The faces of Utahns has changed considerably. The growth in particular has been in the faces of Latinos. We see them, and we are, in the markets, in the malls, in the hotels, in our schools, in our churches, everywhere. Everywhere you go, we are there, as compared to several years ago. And I'm not a native of Utah. When I first came here some 20-some-odd years ago, let me tell you, I was knocking on rocks and everywhere I could turn to try and find someone that looked like me, let alone someone that spoke my language. I would go to stores and try and find things that I was so accustomed to cooking with. My mother would send me a caja, a box with things like tortillas, chiles, mangos, moles, because I couldn't find those here. So it was quite an adjustment for me. Years passed, and I can't even express how good it felt to be at a store and hear someone speaking Spanish. I'd turn around and go, did I hear what I think I heard? And so I'd move my little cart over to the next aisle to see if I heard it, and sure enough, there was someone that looked like me. And I'm like, hola, ¿cómo están? You know? And we start talking and relating who we were, where we come from. You know, the first question was always, ¿de dónde es? And I, say, oh, no, I'm from here, but, raised somewhere else and come here. And wow, how neat. And we kind of shared our little connections of where we find certain things and where can we find more people like us. Well, something else happened, too, during that time. When I did find people that did look like me, and I'd go, hola, ¿cómo están? They'd look at me like, excuse me? I don't speak Spanish. I said, but they did look like me. What's up? Well, I found that the struggles of many Latinos who are native here had to learn not to speak their language. Parents, grandparents would literally pop you upside the head and said, don't talk like this. You need to speak the language of English to fit in, to belong. So for many, many years, many Latinos were not able because they were told not to. At that same time, we also struggled with connecting with our cultures. Because culture is about our language, our customs, our traditions. I found that coming here, the traditional aspects of my culture were very hard to find. Other than an occasional fiesta around Cinco de Mayo, it was very, very difficult. So I had to take it upon myself as a mom to say, we have to keep that connection because it was felt so disconnected being here. So with my kids, it's always turning on the radio and listening to rancheras and to corridas, talking Spanish in my house. But what happened outside of the house was the struggle. Because no matter how many times we would speak Spanish in my house, once my kids got out that door, all their interactions was in English. I remember my youngest coming into the house and speaking to me in English and saying, I'm hungry. And I'd like, ¿qué quieres? And she'd look at me like, I'm hungry. I says, dímelo en español. She'd look at me, she'd go, mm-mm. And I said, what? What do you mean, mm-mm? She goes, no, I'm hungry. And I says, try to explain to her, mijita, and, here we can speak both languages. She says, no, my friends don't. Why should I? You can imagine the frustration. Imagine the frustration of many of our parents today who also experience those similarities. The struggle to maintain our culture, but at the same time want to belong, want to be a part of the community they're in. It's a constant, conscious struggle. Yes, we are everywhere. Yes, we are at the hotels. We are at the restaurants. How many of you have gone to a Korean restaurant lately? Anybody? Who's in the kitchen? Hello. Who's in P.F. Chang's? Hello. We are in every portion of our communities, but yet we are an invisible community. Very invisible. We almost are to the point where people take it for granted that we're there. We're good enough to clean hotels. We're good enough to cook the various meals in restaurants. We're able to clean up those tables. We're good enough to be sweeping those airport floors. But are we good enough to get equal education? Are we good enough to get better paying jobs? Are we good enough to get health care? Are we good enough to get attendance for our health when we are hurt on the job? I think we are. I'm pretty sure many of you think we are. But yet, those are obstacles that hinder progression for this community. There is not one family that I have met in my years that tell their kids don't speak English. I hear many parents telling their children, learn the language. I, in turn, am encouraging those parents, you learn it too. But it doesn't mean that you have to give up one for the other. There is a merging of two worlds that enhance one and the other. And that is what I go about educating our parents and our youth. Our youth struggle with fitting in. They struggle with trying to meet the cultures that they come from and the culture that we are in every day, and trying to blend those two. I see the cultural conflict among our families, where many families would raise their children in a very strict, kind of think of it like a funnel, very strict, with some very strong parameters, and slowly they start to open up those parameters as we learn more responsibility and as we grow older. Many of my parents had said, we have to deal with a funnel like this because many kids that my kids play with and associate with is so open. And as they get older, the parents then begin to tighten up that funnel. And that's when some of this begins where kids start acting out. And yet our kids are here, and as they expand in this funnel and they see that these other kids are not doing what some of the structure has been in the home, they start to fight it. And they start to tell the parents, nope, I don't want to do that. You're too old. You're way back in the old days. Get over it. Move on with the days. At the same time, when our kids are exposed daily and our parents are not, we see a shift of power within the home where the children become the adults because we're using them as translators. Because the parents are using them as translators. Hija, háblame acá este bill. Habla con ellos, dile que arreglamos un pago. Mija, call this bill and tell them make arrangements for a payment. Child's 10 or 12 years old. Lots of struggles. But at the same time, what has been the opportunities? Look around. The most obvious one has been the businesses. the restaurants, the stores, also manufacturing. Look at the increase at the potential of employees. We are good, hard workers. We're committed to our employer. We work long hours. We're loyal. We are the youngest labor force in this country. Our average age is about 28. Whoa. What does that mean? How are we preparing and training this labor force? What about the tax revenues? Do you know that we know how to save money very well? Oh, we may not use the banking systems all that well. But let me use my grandmother, my abuelita. She's not with us any longer. But let me tell you the struggle we had with her. She was alone, now left and she was a widow. Twice. But now she's moving from one sister, or I should say one sister, my mother and the other sisters. And she would get her Social Security check and all that kind of stuff. Well, we've had a couple of issues where her check was stolen from her mailbox and, all that kinds of stuff. So we finally, my mom's telling me, I says, Ama, tienes que ponerla en la cuenta en el banco. You just open up a bank account for her. And she'll go, okay. So she tells my grandmother, we're going to go and open up a bank account for you. And my grandmother didn't argue. She says, okay, está bueno. She goes, pero yo quiero mi dinero. Okay, so, you can auto deposit? No way. Not with Grandma. She wanted her check. She wanted her money. She wanted to make sure she had it. It was her security. And do you think that she didn't know how to save? She kept money everywhere in her bedroom. In the shoes. En el colchón. In the Bible. This is where she secured her money. When she passed on and we had to clean out her room, I guarantee that we sent a few off somewhere else because we didn't find all the dollars. I know we didn't. She was so good, but she couldn't remember where she put everything. No, and she had been here. She came over, and she had been in this country 55 years before we lost her. She came over and, as a resident, never wanted to become a citizen, porque no quería perder her cultura. She didn't want to lose her connection. You will find many of our families in that same situation. You will also find that as we save money because we have that vision to buy what we promote so well of the American dream, a house, get a home. And we save those large down payments. Not always in a bank. And then we go to a realtor, mortgage, and we find our home. We're able to get it at a good percentage rate. And as with any other family, we accumulate bills. Those doggone doctor bills. Because many of these families don't have insurance. So when they have to attend to an illness, it's not a preventative medical process that they go through. They go to the emergency room. How many of you have been to the emergency room? Do you get one test? You go tell them, I got a fever, I got this heavy congestion, I got a pain right here, and I can't figure out what it is. I was sick not too long ago, and I went through umpteen analysis and tests to outrule what it could not be. I have insurance. What about those families who don't? And they have to do some of those analysis to outrule something that it could not be. $5,000, $8,000 later. Oh, let's not even talk about the medication. So many of these families do accumulate some of those bills. So someone comes knocking on their door. And I use an example of a recent gentleman that I assisted. And the realtor's last name was Medina, no relation. Knocks on the door, talks just like he does. Hola, señor, ¿cómo está? Yo tengo este negocio, le quiero ayudar. de rebajar. He was talking to him about reducing his interests in his house. But mainly because tiene biles. Oh, sí, tengo muchos biles. You got bills? Oh, yes, I got lots of bills. What kind of bills? Oh, tengo de los doctores, de esto y lo otro. ¿Sabe qué? I can get you into a one lump payment. So you pay one payment a month, and we'll cover all those bills. Ah, pues, hasta yo? We'd all do that, right? To pay off all our bills and just have one little monthly payment? Oh, it sounds great. So this gentleman does that, and he signs the paperwork. Son comes home. Son is 15 years old. And he goes, hijo, look what I did. And he goes, Dad, what is that? He goes, oh, I signed another mortgage on the house and refinance it, para acá, para allá. So the boy reads it. And he goes, Papá, ¿estás seguro? Dad, are you sure about this? It doesn't sound right. Well, ¿cómo que no? Give me that. Yo soy el padre de esta casa. I'm the father of this house. And he goes, well, ¿sabe qué, papá? Vamos a hablar con la señora Medina. Bueno, vamos. So Saturday morning, they're calling me, and I meet them. He says, what's going on? And they bring me the paperwork. And I'm like, from a 6.5 interest rate to 22.5. Their payment now went up to over $1,000. So, this happened on a Wednesday. It is now Saturday. And between Wednesday and Saturday, he's trying to call the gentleman and saying, cancel this, cancel this, cancel. Of course, the gentleman never returned any of his phone calls. The next thing you know, we're doing everything we can to get a hold of this realtor, calling everybody and our dog world to get this hold of this gentleman. Here is a family who are permanent residents, who have saved for many years, have had good jobs. Good jobs. He's working 3. But he makes actually pretty good money than I do in one job. Go figure. Well, within 30 days, he gets a notice to appear before court for a judgment breach of contract. Where is he going to get attorney help from? Does he? Can he? He pays for it. Where's he going to go? You attorneys in the room, how much money do you think you charge an hour? Okay, no attorneys in the room? I can't believe that. 75 and up? And are you a bilingual attorney that deals with property issues? Very few of those around, if any. Where does he go? Well, he showed up in court with no attorney. And these people had 4. Judgment for the plaintiff. This gentleman has to now pay $5,000 in breach of contract. And because it was a judgment, it's now come out of his paycheck automatically. Wow. And here's this 15-year-old boy telling his dad, ¿Por qué, papá? ¿Por qué nos hiciste esto? ¿Por qué, papá? And in watching this interaction between father and son, I got to see the switch in power. These are the struggles that our families go through. I've also seen the reverse, where I've seen a gentleman come to me saying, I've got these bills, but I didn't sign a contract. And I called them and left messages. Now they're telling me I have to pay all this money. I'm like, no. And it becomes a small claims type of a thing. It says, this is what you need to do. Boom, boom, boom. He goes, but I don't speak English very well. I says, it doesn't matter. I says, I will find you someone who can interpret for you. And through our network of good people that are very invested in helping our community, said, I'll do it. He goes to the courtroom over at Matheson Courthouse. And this company, which is a kind of national type of a company, has all these lawyers lined up on one side of the room. Pretty intimidating. I went, whoa. Real intimidating. And the judge, with him and the interpreter. And the judge, this attorney jumped up and right away started to do his little thing. The judge goes, hold on a second. Let me hear from the defendant here. So this he stands up and in his broken English explains the whole situation from A to D. Well, the other attorneys, say their piece about the contract and all this kinds of stuff. Judge was, good day for the judge. He asked some very good questions, and this defendant here responds. But he won. In fact, he was the one that had the right to pick up damages of his time away from work, the processing of paperwork, all these type of things. And I'm in my office, I'm just on my way out, and he comes in up the elevator, jacket off, tie up this way, and he's all sweaty and everything, and I'm like, oh, hello, and he's just all excited. He was empowered that day more than any one of us could have done, because he had gone through a system that normally is very intimidating for all of us. But compound that by language barriers, lack of knowledge of how it runs. And he had a case because he was honest, he was truthful, and he knew he was right. He was empowered. From that day forward, that gentleman helped others to go and fight some of these inequities that occur with bills, with cable contracts, telephone contracts, MCIs, and all those type of things. And he is working on empowering others. He has become a leader in his community. We are consumers. And we like to spend. We have big families. And we like to enjoy life. We spend money in entertainment, music, taking our families out. Our Sundays are with family. It could be a game of soccer. It could be a day at church. It could be, after soccer, a big meal. It could be a picnic, but very family-oriented. We love to know who others are, but sometimes we get put in a position where the barriers are there, and we get put into an enclave where all you will see are those of us that look alike and speak alike. And that could be a very good comfort zone for many of us, because then we don't have to reach out and go into the other world. Some of our parents are very good at doing that. It's our role and responsibility to get them to come out of that comfort zone. Get them out to mingle, to socialize. It's okay if we don't have good language skills. It's okay if we have the accents. It's okay if we need to ask questions. It's okay to say, you know what, I didn't understand what you said. Can you speak a little bit slower? I don't speak Spanish that well. But oftentimes, when we have someone who comes for whatever service, it's always because it takes a couple of more minutes. We're so in a hurry to get things in and out and away, when we don't take the time to really look at what we have before us and the richness that's before us of learning from the other. Don't ever make the assumption that because we are a Latino of origin that we know all the cultures and Latinos. We're all very different. That's what makes it so rich, because the backgrounds are so different. But yet, similarities, traditions very similar. But I'm a Mexicana. And I don't like we. I have a pet. That's it. We? No. But my neighbors, let me tell you my experience with my neighbors. Oh, I love them to death. Peruvian and heritage. Christmas dinner. I'm always making things and sending it over to their house, menudo, all that kinds of stuff. And she reciprocates. So this one, she invites me over and the family over for dinner. Okay. So I vamos. We take our little gifts and everything else, and we're having our dinner. Rice, some wonderful, just wonderful dish. And I ate it, and I enjoyed it, and I had seconds. Okay. Days go by, New Year's comes by. And the son's over at the house, and he's, getting ready to go off in the military again. He was off on break that day, that time period. So he goes, so, hey, let me show you some pictures of my trip when I was in Peru. So he shows me these pictures of in Peru. And he's at this kitchen, at the restaurant table. And I said, what the heck is that? He goes, oh, that's cuy. I says, okay, what does that mean? He goes, it's guinea pig. I'm like, what's it doing on the table? What's it doing on your plate? He says, it's a delicacy. Ah, he said, you should know. You ate it. Excuse me? So he tells me, he goes, oh yeah, remember when you came over for Christmas? Oh, yeah. He goes, well, my aunt made you the dish. And I'm going, it didn't look like that. He goes, oh no, she had it in a sauce and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, time out. Well, I ate cuy. And I'm looking over at my daughter's pet guinea pig going, don't tell the kids. Whatever you do, don't tell the kids. But that's our experiences. And we should be open to those experiences. We should be willing to ask the questions instead of assuming we have the answers. Oftentimes there's this question of, well, what do we call you guys? Are you a Mexican? Are you a Peruvian? Are you Salvadorian? I says, don't assume you can call me anything. My name is Leticia. Oh, don't get up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, oh, there's you, Mexican woman. No. I kept going, oh my gosh, it's today. Mom, when did I put my mom hat on? Okay, in 10 minutes. And then go and wake up and rouse all the kids. And when do I put in my boss hat, to go deal with my staff? But no, we don't get up and say, Others do that for us. Don't do that. Take in what is out there, its richness. What you don't know, ask. I'd rather you ask. We're always ready to be educated daily. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you find someone who looks a little lost, don't be afraid to say, how can I help you? Thank you.